The morning sun had barely risen over Spartanburg when Deputy Ray Denzlow's patrol car rolled into Chevron gas station off Highway 29. It was a quiet Tuesday, the kind of shift he usually spent on routine traffic stops and petty theft calls. But today would be different. Today, a simple encounter would spiral into a national scandal, one that would expose deep-seated biases, test the limits of authority, and redefine the meaning of integrity. Quentin Dre, Deputy Chief of the U.S. Secret Service, had been in Spartanburg for less than 12 hours. A last-minute security briefing for an upcoming presidential visit had brought him to South Carolina, and after late-night reviewing protocols, he'd stopped for a black coffee before heading to the field office. Dressed in a tailored charcoal suit, his badge clipped discreetly to his belt. He looked every bit the seasoned federal agent, polished, professional, and unassuming. Denzlow noticed him immediately. Something about the way Dre carried himself, confident but not cocky, authoritative without being loud, set off alarms in the deputy's mind. Or maybe it was the way Dre, a tall black man in a suit, didn't shrink under Denzlow's gaze as he pumped gas. Whatever it was, Denzlow approached, hand resting on his holster. "You mind stepping away from the vehicle, sir?" Denzlow's voice was sharp, his tone leaving no room for debate. Dre turned, assessing the situation. He'd dealt with local law enforcement before. Misunderstandings happened, but the tension in Denzlow's posture told him this wasn't going to be routine. "Is there a problem, officer?" Dre kept his voice even, his hands visible. Denzlow's eyes flicked to the badge on Dre's belt. He smirked. "That's supposed to be real?" Dre didn't react. "It is. I'm Deputy Chief Quentin Dre, U.S. Secret Service." Denzlow barked a laugh. "Yeah, okay. Let me see some ID." Dre reached slowly for his credentials, but before he could present them, Denzlow's demeanor shifted. His hand tightened on his gun. "Hand where I can see him. Now!" The escalation was sudden, jarring. Dre complied, but his jaw tightened. "Officer, I'm a federal agent. There's no need for this. Kneel. Hands behind your head." Denzlow's voice was a growl. For a fraction of a second, Dre considered refusing. He could have ended this with a call, a single radio transmission to his team. But he also knew what it looked like, a black man argue with a cop in broad daylight. So he knelt. The gas station was far from empty. A college student filling her sedan froze, her phone already recording. A truck driver watched, eyes wide, as Denzlow patted Dre down roughly, scoffing credentials he finally produced. "Nice try," Denzlow muttered. "Where'd you get this? Fake badges ain't gonna fly with me." Then he spotted Dre's government-issued SUV, the plates and reinforced frame unmistakable to anyone who knew what to look for. Without hesitation, Denzlow moved to search it. Dre's voice cut through the air, calm but firm. "That's a federal vehicle. You do not have authorization to search it." Denzlow ignored him, wrenching the door open. What happened next unfolded in seconds. A black Suburban screeched into the lot, followed by two more. Doors flew open, and suddenly, Denzlow was surrounded by armed Secret Service agents. Kendra Moss, Dre's second-in-command, at the lead. "Step away from the vehicle," Moss ordered, her voice ice-cold. Denzlow spun, his bravado faltering. "Who the hell?" "U.S. Secret Service," Moss snapped, flashing her badge. "You just drew your weapon on a deputy chief. Drop yours. Now!" The realization hit Denzlow like a punch to the gut. His face drained of color as he slowly set his gun on the pavement. Supervisory Special Agent Lyle Mercer moved to Dre, helping him up. "You all right, Chief?" Dre brushed off his suit, exhaling slowly. "I've had better mornings." The videos went viral before Denzlow was even placed in administrative detention. By noon, #Secret Service Chief was trending. By evening, every major news network had picked up the story. The Spartanburg County Sheriff's Office scrambled to respond, issuing a terse statement about an ongoing internal review. Denzlow, suspended without pay, became the face of police overreach, his past incidents now under scrutiny. Reports surfaced of excessive force complaints, racial profiling accusations, all buried until now. Meanwhile, Dre, who had never sought the spotlight, found himself at the center of a national conversation. A week later, Dre stood before a packed community hall in Spartanburg. Reporters lined the walls, cameras flashing. He hadn't planned to speak, but the moment demanded it. "What happened at that gas station wasn't just about me," he said, his voice steady. "It was about how quickly assumptions can turn into actions, how fear can override reason." He paused, meeting the eyes of the crowd. "But it's also about how we respond. Not with anger, not with vengeance, but with clarity, with dignity." The room was silent. I could have resisted. I could have shouted, demanded respect. But that's not the lesson here. The lesson is that integrity doesn't need a badge. It needs patience. It needs proof. He nodded toward the back, where a group of young black teens sat, watching intently. And sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is outlast a moment. Denzlow was eventually terminated, his law enforcement career over. The sheriff's department implemented mandatory bias training, but for many, it was too little, too late. Dre returned to duty, but his role had shifted. New agents sought him out, asking how he stayed calm. His answer was always the same, because the moment you lose control, they win. The gas station confrontation faded from headlines, but its impact lingered. Body cam reforms gained traction. Community outreach programs expanded. And in quiet conversations across the country, people asked themselves, what would I have done? For Quentin Dre, the answer had been simple. He had knelt, but in the end, he was the one who stood tallest.